this Revit course. This is a very fast-paced course that is aimed to the professional architect engineer who's transitioning from software such as AutoCAD into this new environment. This will be a very fast-paced course to try and get those individuals into Revit very quickly. Now, I am not an expert when it comes to Revit. I'm simply someone who's worked in the industry for several years professionally and in the environment and outside of the professional environment as well. So one of the first things I'd like to cover in this first video is walls. Now, that's one of the first things that you'll need when you're starting your project. And how you go about that is you have your newly created project, and all you need to do is simply come under architecture, wall, and Revit gives you some sample walls that you can choose from. I would say this is probably the easiest way of getting started and creating your own wall. You simply click on any wall, random wall, it doesn't really matter. You click edit, and then let's say that you know your full build up. So what you would do is click duplicate, and then we'll label it as you choose. You know, your office might have a BIM manager who deals with all of this. I don't know, but for this instance, we'll just call it a simple wall A. Okay, so now this is your wall, which is that process was non-destructive because the wall that we used to sample was not damaged or altered in any way whatsoever. We simply duplicated it, renamed it, and we're going to use that to build our new wall. So let's say that we need to change this build up to something that meets our requirements, and meets the U values that we have. So how you would do that is you become the construction, structure, click edit, and then here you're presented with the build-ups and the thicknesses that you have. Let's say that instead of having one layer of plasterboard, you have two. So all you do is click insert, you know, thickness, you change that to 12.5 or whatever you want to use. Category. Now you see that this layer 7, which is this one here, is different finish to the top one. The reason for that is if you come to material and you click on layer 6, which is the one above the existing plasterboard that we had, there is no material assigned to it. Now if you want it to look exactly the same as the existing one, you simply match the material which is there, and by doing that click on 3 buttons, and it was labeled plaster. Now you can scroll and try and find it, or you can simply just type in plaster, which is there, click OK. Now it's there. Now let's say that it's not a full fill, it's partial fill, so we need to introduce a cavity. Now you simply just click insert, it introduces a blank layer, and you give that whatever thickness you want. So I'll say 100. Now you can see it there, but now you'd need to change the appearance of it. And how you do that is, again, click on the 3 dots, and because it's just a cavity, I'll just click on the air material, which is blank, and there you have it. Now something I personally do, and I would advise, that helps quite a lot, it distinguishes drawings and it helps you identify the build up a bit easier, is if you click the thermal layer, which is at 75, and you see how it's grey. I personally find that quite distracting and quite difficult to identify when I draw a section. So how I go about that is I click on the fiberglass material, which is there, and then under its dialog where it says color, I click it and I change the color of it. Okay, so now I can identify that more as being insulation. So that's how you create your own build-up. You can move things about to whatever order you want. You can introduce more layers. You might want to introduce a particle. You might want to introduce dot and dab. Whatever you want to introduce, you can do. All you simply do is click insert and give it a thickness, give a material that you find appropriate, and that's it. You simply press OK. Now, I've got an error here. Row 3 layer function, priorities cannot ascend from the core boundary to the finish. Now, this is a topic that I'd like to cover on later on, but in brief, now it's quite important to pay attention to these numbers here beside the finishes, because that's the priority that the material has over another material. So there I got is layer 3. I'll simply just move that down into the core boundary, and that's fine now. I'll explain that later on how that function works, but for right now I'll leave it. So now when you're happy with your wall, I'll simply press OK, and now I'm ready to draw my perimeter. So how I go about doing that, here you have this small panel that gives you different options. If you want to draw radiuses, if you want to draw different shaped walls, or very specific with your polygon. So standards, I'd go to the rectangle tool and I'll simply click once and just move my cursor to wherever I want to be. So now you can see those blue lines which are representing the dimensions as I move my cursor. Now you might already know what that needs to be. Let's say it's a 15 by 15 square. Now you can try and get 15 by 15 meters, but that's quite tedious to do. It's not really the best way of doing it. How I personally advise for you to do it is, if you just click, doesn't matter, and now press escape twice, and now if you click on the wall, okay, you can see this dimension here. This dimension is a very good tool that Revit has, that allows you to set given dimensions to shapes very easily and very quickly. Now how you do this is you click on the wall that you want to move. So this is the wall I want to move, this is the wall that I'll be moving. So if I want to move this wall, I wouldn't be clicking this wall, I'll simply just click on that wall, and that will go for any wall. So let's say I want to move this wall, okay, and that might be because this is the facing boundary of the property. I don't know, so for that reason I want to move this wall. Okay, so I can see here the dimension is being taken from the inside face, and my 15 meters is to the external face. So how I change that is, you see that node there, I simply click and drag it to the external face, and click and drag to the external face. Now I can see that's 15.8. So now I need it to be 15. So I simply click on the wall, click on the dimension, insert my new dimension, and it moves the wall. I'll show you that once more. So I can see now that again the interactive dimension is in the incorrect place. I want to move it from the exterior leaf. So I'll click and drag on the node, click and drag to where I want it to be, so the external face, and now I can see what the external width is. So again, if this is fixed for whatever reason that may be, or this might be fixed, all I simply have to do is click on the wall I want to move. So I want to move this wall, and then click on my dimension and introduce whatever dimension I need. So 15 meters. Okay. And that's the quickest way of getting a dimension that you need. Now, if this is a planning drawing, I don't need to see all this detail. I just simply need a solid grey fill. And how I do that, it's right here at the bottom. I'd click detail level, click coarse, and that's it. Okay, so I'll leave it here for this video. If there's anything I've missed or anything that you'd like to see in more detail, please let me know in the comments below. Please consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.